Hi guys, if you have watched my previous video on how to get a flawless face, you will see it right here. And now we're going to be contouring and doing our blush and highlight. So let's get started. I'm going to be using the Morphe contour palette, and I'm going to be using a combination actually of these three shades right here. And I'm using a NARS Ita brush. This is very popular on YouTube, so I'm sure you've seen it before. Morphe actually has a great version of a brush like this, and it's much cheaper if you want to go for that. What's also good is the Hoola bronzer. This actually works for like 95% of people's skin tones, and it is also a fantastic product. So first what I'm going to do is I'm just going to hollow out the hollows of my cheeks and just carve those out with this brush. You want to apply most of your color towards your ear and down towards your mouth. You don't want to go past really the middle of your eyeball. If you do that, it's going to actually have the opposite effect. It's going to drag everything down. What you really want to do is just focus this right here and not really move much farther than that. If you want, you can bring it a little bit farther down, but any farther than that's going to look a little cray-cray. And you want to make sure when you're blending up and not down. Like I said, that's going to have the opposite effect of what you want. So once I do that, I take this Real Technique brush, and this is actually a blush brush, but to me it's like way too big to be a blush brush, so I use it actually to blend or to put bronzer on. So then I won't put any product on this, and I'll just go back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, making sure to blend that out. These three shades are what I want. This one, this one, and this one. I'm gonna tap the excess off, and I'm gonna rub that on the tops of my forehead. This is going to balance out the face, because if you just did this part right here, you're gonna look crazy. So you wanna add that warmth to other parts of your face where the sun would naturally hit you. And usually you get, you know, when you get a nice tan, it's not on your forehead, it's a little bit on your nose. Just do a little bit on there. I don't like to put too much brown on my nose. Sometimes if you really want to look like you came back from the beach, then you can do like a W motion right here, and that's going to really make it look authentic. But since I just highlighted this in my foundation video, I don't want to go over that. So I'm just trying to balance everything out otherwise. And a part that most people really miss is this right here. What you're ideally going for is like a 3 shape. So you put your main contour right here, that's the middle of your 3, and you're gonna go in and back down under here. Some people put the bottom of their 3 because they see this, they hear this 3 technique, and then they put the 3 here, and that does the opposite of what you're trying to do. You want that bottom 3 to be under your chin. So that, and then this part, and up here. Now we use the Ita brush to really carve that part out, but for me, I don't like a really harsh contour. So just do that down here. And then that's also going to give a lot of definition to your neck and right here. Sometimes I let this go up a little bit onto my chin and makes your chin look a little bit more slim. And you can bring that all the way down your neck if you want to blend that out. No additional product is necessary. See, that contour is still just enough, but not too crazy. I'm going to dip this into my Hoola bronzer. I find that for contouring my nose, this actually works a little bit better than the Morphe. At least you have to be really careful with the color that you put on the sides of your nose. If it's too orange, it looks really bad. So this is actually more of a cooler tone, and I can really guarantee that I know this is going to look good instead of mixing the 3 colors. So I take it on the Ita brush, and I'm putting it literally just on the sides of my nose, and I'm being really careful to not get anything in the middle portion. Right now this looks really harsh, but don't worry, we're going to blend it out. Now make sure you take that up towards the eyebrow. And do a little bit underneath, and a little bit just over that middle section. Doing that, if you have a bulbous nose, makes this part recede a little bit. Wherever you're putting a contour, you're making that part recede, and wherever you put a highlight, you're making that part come forward. So I'm gonna make the top of this part kind of smaller so that this part is kind of more like a button nose. And then I put a little tiny bit of contour underneath my lip to make it to look a little bit more full on the bottom. See, just that little bit makes a big difference. Taking my icing powder brush, it's just a flat top powder brush, and I'm just gonna rub that on the side, and that's just gonna blend that out. Make sure not to blend it towards the center of your nose, just away from your face. This isn't a super precise contour, just enough to give my nose a little bit more definition, you can see. And now I'm going to use my Sigma Tapered Highlighter F35 brush and a little bit of my Mary Luminizer by The Balm. This is a golden highlight. It's very pigmented, so you want to be very precise with your application because you could look like a frosty mess if you use too much. So I'm just going to put that right at the very high, sorry, I don't want to block you, the very high points of my cheeks and not really anywhere else. Make sure you tap off the excess with this so that you don't look gray. Now if you're like me, like a little bit right at your cupid's bow, that's fine. Some people like to run this down the bridge of their nose. For me, Mary Luminizer is a little bit too shiny for that. But if you're going to do it, just make sure you do it right in this portion of your nose. If you bring it down to this part, if you have a kind of bigger nose or a bulbous nose, you're gonna make that look bigger. Like we just said, highlights make things come forward, and we just did a lot of work to recede that part, that top bit. So you're just gonna put it just right here and not any lower than that. Some people like to highlight right here as well. We did that with concealer and setting powder already in a previous video, so I'm not gonna worry too much about that. I'm just gonna put my highlight right here, and that's all I need. Now I'm taking a Morphe S13 brush. Sorry, it's a little bit dirty. It's just like a tapered blush brush. And I'm using the Morphe blush palette. This palette is amazing. I'm obsessed with all of Morphe's palettes. Which blush do I want to use today? I'm actually really a fan of matte blushes, but I think today I'm going to be using this one, which has a slight sheen to it. It's just kind of a pinky peach. And as you can see, these are really pigmented. Look how much that picked up, so I'm gonna need to tap some of that off. And because they're so pigmented, what I do with blushes, I don't really sweep, I press. I start at this high point of my cheek, and I actually go backwards, and I slowly bring it down. It's gonna come off really pigmented on the first side. I just kind of push it into my skin, and that way it makes it last a little bit longer. And then once I kind of get it, then I can blend it. I'm literally only using the viewfinder to do my makeup right now. I might watch this later and be like, oh, you look like shit. All right, I think that looks okay. In my mirror, it looks good. On camera, it kind of looks a little like blush happy, but that's okay. Sometimes I bring my blush just a little bit up here just to give a little bit of a more flushed look, balance out that bronzer. And then I just use that same duo fiber that I used with the ambient lighting powder, and I just very lightly run over that so that everything is blended together. And because it has a little bit of that powder left over, it'll just meld all three of those things, the contour, the highlight, the blush, it'll just meld all that together with another little bit of powder, even though I didn't add any additional product on there. And that's it for contour, highlight, and blush. Thanks for watching. Stick around, I'm going to be doing a eyebrow tutorial next. And then this look will finally be complete.